Today we're going to make a RIKON bandsaw. As you can see, I got a cup of coffee and a muffin here. So go in the kitchen, get yourself a sandwich or a snack. This is going to be a long video, but if you buy one of these and put it together, you'll want to watch this video. It's worth the half an hour or so to figure out how all the pieces and parts go together, because it took me 3 or 4 hours of figuring out what I filmed and edited. But great saw, happy with it, I like it. Going to talk about how to assemble the base, how to assemble the saw, the table, everything.
Hey, we're playing with my Christmas present. Santa brought me a new RIKON Deluxe 14-inch bandsaw model 10325. And like all the cool kids on YouTube do, they show unboxing things. So we're going to unbox this, see if we can't put it together. Which I've heard putting these together is kind of a challenge, so we'll see. Get some wheels or some help. That's the first suggestion. Right, let's open this baby up and see what we got. Ooh, got instructions. Look at these those. Actually, kind of kidding about that because holy moly! Feedback I got is this thing's kind of hard to put together, and people were frustrated. But that's quite a table. Awesome. And this is a heavy bar of some magical kind. And this is a highfalutin, fancy, man, maybe that's a thing. Like there's a thing. Can't think of the word of it. Anyway, how? Ooh, baby. So why did I choose this saw? I chose this saw. Ooh, this is cool. Let's take a look. I chose this saw because of the unbelievably super fantastic color. They changed the color to blue. I actually was expecting it to be green. But, no, I'm kidding. I chose this. So like I was saying, I love the color. But the reason I chose this saw is a buddy had one. The salespeople at the store highly recommend it, and it was on sale $2 off, and I got it from my family for Christmas. Yay! Well, let's go ahead and pull this box out and see what's in that box. Whatever it is, it's less light. It used to be light when I was young and strong, so now it's less light. My buddy told me this was a two-man job. No, actually, the guy, my friend, was woodcraft. This maybe part where it starts to get fun. Assemble. Ooh, ooh la la. Hopefully there's extras and not missing pieces. Alright! That's being silly. 4 walls and some supports. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 walls and some supports. Maybe there's a bottom to it. Might need those instructions after all. Boy, this is probably the top. This would be the top because of the weight, because of these supports to handle the weight of this thing. So I imagine we're gonna have to open this. Although all the feedback I read on the site, they said that assembling this base is fraught with peril, and the instructions are horrible, and that you should go get something off the website. Assembly, shelf spacers. Oh, that's awesome. Cabinet underneath with the shelf in it. I like the looks of that. Owner's manual. Supplement. Rip fence installation. So we are back. We are in a super secret covert location for installation. We're in the front room, but don't tell anybody, okay? We're in the house. That's why we've laid down these Super Duty towels. Well, anyway, I have lost the bolts that put this all together, so I've got to see if I can figure out where they are. I'm actually kidding because I had to go back and look at the video. Woo! This is the door. That's totally awesome. I like that. I put the bolts in. Oh, yeah, that's the package for the tools. Apparently this comes with some tools. There's a warranty card. There's the instructions. And I think this actually goes to something else outside on the fence. Ah! There's the bag of bolts and nuts. So we're good. Yeah, I looked at the manual. I know it's against the rules to look at the install manual, but I looked at the install manual and there was like 7 lines of it. Started with something like, assemble the base and then put on the door. Well, we're going to need a little bit more help than that. But we'll see what happens. If we can figure out which of these oil parts go together. I did figure out, let's start. This thing is the bottom. B-O-T-T-O-M. And I'm not sure if there's a front, back, right, left. It's gotta be because these holes, all indication is this is the front. That's my story and I'm sticking with it. Boy, it's all covered in oil. I gotta go get some quick update. I went and found an old sheet. And I'm going to wipe all the oil off all this stuff. And it's nice and warm inside the house. There's a football game on. I'm not getting much done. But that's okay. It's all just supposed to be fun anyway. So I found the base. I found the front. I think these are the front with the larger reset. I'm going to wipe this stuff down and proceed with assembly. I am now, I think, ready for assembly. I looked at the instructions and it said the bolt with more distance in the front and the back. So this is the front. I figured out why. It's because the door can only go on one way. The hinges are on the outside. And there's little welded caps that are coated, which is kind of nice for the hinges. So it hinges and it's in front of the sides. So, thus, the bolts offset a tiny bit. And then this panel, as you can see, has a hole in it. And that hole matches right here for the doorknob or the opener or whatever. That goes on a little bit of an angle. So I've got that one. And then there's 2 pieces left. There's this piece, which is smaller, and it's a shelf that goes in the middle. And then this piece for the back looks to be symmetrical with 3 holes down each side. So that'll go in the back. Now I'm going to find the bolts and put it in, and I believe these are the shelf mounts. Will go inside somewhere. I'll figure those out in a second. But we are making progress. We got it laid out. This makes sense to me now how this goes together. So we'll keep I just opened the bolt package and kind of sorted things. So these little ones here in the front will hold the base, well, the sides to the base. This is what's needed for the locking assembly, that little lock nut. And so when it locks, the door will close like that and unlock there. These are the spacers for the shelf, and these 4, they got a special assignment. I haven't figured out what they're needed for, but I definitely separated them. So these are all the washers, and they go on kind of like this, with the lock washer and then the washer against the metal to hold the base all together. So that makes sense. Looks like we've got what we need. Putting this together, I have a ratcheting wrench. It says put them together. It's a 1/2 inch. And it says put everything together finger tight. But you definitely want to ratchet. Doing this, they're really kind of hard to get to. So you definitely need a ratcheting wrench. You can't do it just finger tight. So I got these 2 sides on. I'm going to put the back on. I figured out what these are. They are the supports that go on the front of the door. So I'll just zoom them on. It says put the oval holes up, which only makes sense based on, we'll call this the doorknob and the hinges. And then the back seems universal. You can do it top to bottom. So, doesn't look that difficult. Mine was going really slow. I'm actually kind of watching TV and enjoying myself. Well, they're snugged on. Looks good. I just remembered these extra big fender washers go right here. So underneath I've got a bolt, a spring washer, and a washer on the shelf, and then these fender washers on each side. They were the extra pieces, so I just put them on. Alright, I set the door on. I've got everything snugged with the fender washers. I put the doorknob on, for lack of any other proper term for it. It would be easier if you did this first, but I didn't. I have the base assembled and tightened up, and then I put the saw on it, and now I need to install the pieces and parts and handles and tool racks and things on the saw. So putting the saw on the base, it's heavy. You definitely need 2 people. And it was really slippery. It slid around, and the white part trying to mat up with the blue part. I was a little frustrated. I scratched the corners of the blue part a little bit, which, you know, for something brand new, you don't want to be scratching it. So that was the only drawback on that. And then the way these nuts go, right here, you put the 2 nuts on top and lock them down. Not too pleased with that. That seems silly. That's the way the instructions said it, but that's probably so it's easier to do. I think I'll turn it around and put the lock washer underneath and make it look a little cleaner. Alright, I turned the saw around. Next step on assembly is the base. So I'm going to see if I can figure out how to put that together with the guide and the measuring sticks and things like that. I'm getting ready to put the table on, and I see this is a 25 inch long bolt needs to go in here, which counterparts this, which is a solid part, and I believe that's for leveling. So we put that on first, and then we're going to put this on the saw and bolt it up with 4 bolts here. There's the hex. Okay, so now we're going to bolt this up to the saw itself with these 4 hex nuts, washers, and bolts. This is the table leveling bar, and it says it's factory installed and needs to be removed prior to installing the table, and then I guess we'll put it back on. So it's just a hex wrench. We'll pull that off, and then I'm getting ready to put the table on. Now I put the base on, and the instructions say put 2 of these bolts on, which I did over here, and then tilt it up 45 degrees and put these 2 on so you can kind of get access to it. This thing's heavy, was kind of fraught with peril, but I think we're getting it. Well, we're moving right along with the project. I got these handles, put one on here, and I put one on here, and then up underneath the 4 bolts. No, you probably can't see it, to hold the table on, and then this assembly here is lined up to help level the table, and then in the back here there's a nice long bolt that goes in with the stop nut that's going to hold the fence on here, and then the fence goes on, and the way the fence goes on is a nut and a washer, the table, a washer, and a nut on both sides, and I guess that's going to allow me to tighten it up and get things adjusted when I get that on. So that's an oily little monster. That's what I'm working on next, and then I'm going to figure out how to get the fences on here. Maybe I should have put the fences on first. I don't know, gotta go back and read some more. Okay, now we are back on track. This is what I just mentioned. These are kind of some length guides, and they need to go right on here, and they will go on probably before this bar, but there's a supplement in the instructions, and there's not really steps on which way, what, how should be done. And then there's a table leveling bar that's under here that I took off that I need to put back on. The reason I took that off so I could get the table on, slide it in past the belt. So that's how you change the belt out, so take that leveling bar out. So that's the mystery behind that. I need to reinstall it and then snug this up. Then you see on these they've got a little screw right here to help you fine-tune the adjustment of the tape measure. So we'll do that later. So I'm going to put these on with just these little silver nut bolts. Okay, I got this put on. One thing to note, I pushed it down in the holes as low as I could get so that this lines up exactly perfect with the slot here for the, I don't want to call it running gear, but for the push and slide through. So I imagine I need to do that on this other one. So I found out the order of assembly does matter on these things. They need to be put on before this bar, and then this is the table leveling bar I was talking about, and that just goes on under here so it can hinge. You take the blade off, put it back in, tighten it back up with the hex wrench, so that'll keep the table flat. These are the adjustments. I made it so I had the same gap as in the table here, and then I can fine tune the adjustment right here, I guess. Maybe move them as I need it. I'll just play with it. And so now this bar, as you can see, goes on. Hex nuts right in there, and then I put these washers and nuts behind it, and then it can be infinitely adjusted for square. Now we're trying to put this on. You can see right in there there's a brass piece that's round, goes in there to counter the screw So to put that on, I'm going to slide that on like this, using gravity to my advantage, and roll it over that way. And I guess I've got to go get the bar that goes on here. Now I'm going to talk about the fence and the fence slide. So I put the fence on. These two butt nuts, wing nuts, loosen up, and you slide the head of it in there. And you can also see this will turn and the fence will go flat. So it's two position, and then it slides along here. I got the fence, put it on, and then I lined my fence up completely square with the table by just setting it up here and then adjusting the micro adjustments on these two nuts. So I got that.
I'm glad you're still sticking with me on this. This is exactly the part of the video that you're glad you're watching me put this together instead of you. Because I got parts that I don't really have any idea where they go. Well, okay, this is a tool holder and it goes on the back of the column. And this is some kind of wheel and it goes absolutely on the very, very top of the lathe. Not exactly sure what it's for, but this baby's baffling me. So, I guess we'll put the Allen wrench tool holder on. We'll put this on the very top, and then we'll still keep digging to see if we can figure out what this slide lock thing's for. Instructions are pretty random. Quick video talking about setting up the bearings or the blade guides. There's a great video on the internet from Carter Tools on how you set up a bandsaw. He goes over it, talks about it for about an hour. Long and short, first thing you do on the upper set is you loosen this and get the back bearing within about 1/16 of an inch of the blade. And then to adjust, these have micro adjustments on here, but you loosen the bolt in the front of the bearing and then twist the micro adjustments for the right, left, and the back one, and it's underneath here. You want the bearings absolutely as close as you can get to the blade without them touching. And one thing that the guy in the Carter Tools video did that I didn't do is he adjusted the guides for top and bottom without the table on. I did it with the table on, but it would certainly be easier. So at the step where you're getting ready to put the table on, open up here, open up your lower door where you can get to your blade, adjust the blade such that the middle of that curve is right in the middle of the top band. You probably can't see that. I'll show that. So this is my blade. That's my blade alignment. He said the middle of the gullet, the bottom of the gullet, and the middle of the top bandsaw wheel. And the bottom wheel just adjusts itself and works just fine. Just straightens itself out. And then as you can see, if this wants to focus, and here's a close-up on these bearings, the guides. You just loosen this nut, and twist this back and forth gently to get it such that the blade is as close to those bearings without touching, and when the saw runs, they shouldn't turn. Because if they turn all the time, that's enough heat to take the temper out of your blade. So that's the trick there. And then the last mystery piece goes on the fence right here. Goes on the fence right here. You just have to take that off, put that on there. Apparently that will then ride right up against the blade, and for resawing it's exactly what the instructions say. So we got it all together. We've used it. We've played with it. Love it. Here my blade ticks just a tiny bit. But anyway, there's a piece of That's a pretty cool looking resaw. Zinging along, go through. So I'm excited. Works good. Alright, well, let's give this thing a test. Let's see, I can make it underneath there. No problem. There's a little bit of cracks in this asham and I'll get rid of them. And I'm just going to test this saw. Wow! Are you kidding me? Look at that! We're gonna save this blank. Ooh, let's take a little bit off the other end. I've done straighter things before. But that's totally awesome. That's why I bought this saw. Right there.